1:48 right now. Want to get you to our next conversation here. Have you ever been stuck in a truck bottleneck? Many of us have. They are very frustrating. In fact, congestion delays, this is according to new research, congestion delays inflicted on truckers are the equivalent of 436,000 drivers sitting idle for an entire year. I know that's like a nightmare scenario no one really wants to think about, but let's get to Rebecca Brewster. She is the president and chief operating officer of the American Transportation Research Institute. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me on today to talk about everybody's nightmare traffic congestion.
It really is. It really is. So this is the 15th annual list that just came out highlighting the most congested bottlenecks for trucks in America, all over. Let me ask you about maybe the top three. Why do you think they're there? Where are they? And why do you think they're there?
Sure. Well, first a little bit about how we develop this, because I think it adds important context. So ATRI collects truck GPS data. It comes into us in real time from 18-wheelers operating all over the country, hundreds of thousands of tractor trailers. And we're monitoring traffic congestion at 325 locations around the U.S. So we take a full year's worth of truck GPS data and we look at how slowly trucks are operating and how many trucks are impacted at each location. So speed and volume go into the calculation to come up with the worst 100 places to operate a truck. And quite frankly, even though our data generates from trucks and we call it a truck bottleneck list, these are choke points that everybody feels the pain from. And Chicago, for better or worse this year, has supplanted a 7-year-in-a-row champion that was now moved to number 2, the George Washington Bridge in New York, New Jersey. And you now have the number 1 truck bottleneck at I-294, where it intersects with I-290 and I-88.
I mean, when we look at that, you can get caught in this and you're thinking to yourself, how long could this possibly last? And sometimes it's maybe a few minutes, and sometimes it's literally hours. Tell me a little bit more about what you hear from people when these lists come out.
Absolutely. Well, the good news is the real value in this type of research is it's not a survey. It's not what do you think, where do you think the worst traffic is? It's actually generating from real world truck operations. And because of that reliability of the data source, states use this list to figure out where to target infrastructure investment. And nowhere is that more evident, and we've held it up as our poster child for this for years, than in Chicago with the Jane Byrne interchange. When we first started doing this research a number of years ago, that was the number 1 truck bottleneck for 3 years in a row. The state then made the investment into fixing that interchange. And now in this year's list, it's all the way down at number 26. And so it really does.
Hello, my name is Janet.
Renee.
Kenneth. Patty. I have a Medicare Advantage plan and I depend on it every day.
I'm diabetic.
The investment to fix these locations, there really is a positive payoff.
Yeah. So infrastructure, of course, comes to the top of your mind in terms of things to improve. Once a list like this comes out, I'm wondering why a freight bottleneck here in terms of why Illinois becomes a place and Chicago becomes a place specifically where there's that much freight movement.
Well, certainly given its location in the center of the United States, you're going to have a lot of through traffic. And I live in Atlanta, and we have a lot of these truck bottlenecks too because of the same situation. We're a major metropolitan area, so lots of population drives the need for everything that's delivered by truck. But we're also a location like Chicago where a lot of trucks are going through to get to other cities and other major metropolitan areas. So combined with all the car traffic in Chicago and in my hometown of Atlanta, put all those trucks in that mix as well, and it just makes it a difficult soup for anybody to get through.
Yeah, and then the hard thing is that even when there are projects to eventually solve the bottleneck, in the interim they usually cause more headaches.
They do. Construction creates congestion. There's just no way around it. So what I've been telling folks as I've been doing these interviews today is take heart when you see those orange cones and those construction barrels and those concrete medians, temporary medians in place. Don't worry, help is on the way, because it means your DOT is working to fix that location. And sometimes, I know as we watched the Burn interchange for years as it was undergoing its redesign and rebuild, it seems like these projects seems to take a whole lot longer than you would hope they would take. But the data proves, particularly at that location, before construction and after construction, we saw truck speeds improve by 25%. So you really can have a payoff when you have those work zones, but there's no question that those work zones create a little heartache in the short term.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for putting out the list to bring our attention to this issue, and hopefully, we'll see some movement movement on multiple fronts. Movement in terms of policy to get something done in the end, but also just moving on the road. We don't like these bottlenecks. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Okay, take care. It's 1:50.